nights, and they've invited us once again to stay in their home.
It's still maybe because
I
think
you
you
went
looked
to
at it
New
again.
and then take the high-speed train down to Granada, which is down there.
It's showing
there a message that says Obiet's, but so you know that I didn't
Well,
Can you
so-
get it going on that?
Absolutely.
Good morning, Carl.
Happy birthday, Carl. Thank you. Thank you. 65. You don't look a day over 62. Thank you. Appreciate that.
There's a wise guy in every room, right, Carl?
Oh, so be a good one for us in the new state open?
Yeah.
Next week.
All right, gang. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead and get started. Got kind of a variety of things to talk about today, one of which is that article I just handed out. That's kind of my filler. Is the volume on that TV?
I just turned it off.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Ashley's going to be joining us at some point, a little after 9, and when she gets here, we'll give her the floor. I just wanted to bring her in to give everybody a chance to ask any questions or have her tell us anything about anything we need to know getting ready to go into the busier season. Our habitat project has gotten bumped back a week again. Anybody who is familiar with new construction is not surprised, but we are the first work crew in, and they keep bumping us back. So now we're looking at maybe the first week of February. I'll keep you updated on that. You all got an email from Paul yesterday. We talked last week in our meetings about organizing our databases, going through Outlook, and categorizing your folks either to use that as your primary database or possibly to migrate to a new customer management system that the Synergy team has been looking at and likes very much. Either way, organizing your current stuff in Outlook will benefit you once we get busy. And when we were talking about that, we saw a lot of kind of blank faces, and so Paul agreed to do a class, which will happen today at 10. We're going to make sure this meeting ends by 11:45, where he will show you how to very easily go in and start cleaning up your database and setting up categories of buyers, sellers, spheres of influence, all the various components of your sphere, and how to begin to use that software, whether it's Outlook or MoxieWorks, to keep your arms around your clients. Those folks, those names in your database, and the people that you will meet will be 70% of your business for your entire career. So if you're interested in actually building a career and having more business flow to you each year with less and less prospecting effort, this is the way to do it. So if you can, grab your laptop or your phone if you don't use a laptop, and join us again. Our company business meeting may get changed again, I hate to say. We had to bump it once because Keith was going to be out of town. He has a speaker in mind that he really would like for everybody to hear. And she let us know last night that she was not available on the 4th, but would be on the 5th or the 6th. So Rebecca hasn't had a chance to check yet, but she'll check and see on the availability. We may need to bump it a day to accommodate the speaker. So I apologize for the confusion, but we'll let you know as soon as we have it all pinned down. Katie, being the wonderful Katie that she is, sent everybody out an email saying, hey, if you guys want to do a nice thing for your clients, I will help you do that. And she does this every year. It used to be, HUDs that we send out. Now it's closing disclosures. But all you have to do is let Katie know, and she can collect a list of all your folks and send you those closing disclosures.
It does not take me long at all, so you're not bothering me to do it. I have it all pre-formatted, so it's just a matter of just converting Word in Excel and printing. That's all it is.
Your clients will appreciate it, even if they don't need it, even if they've gotten all that stuff buttoned up already, they will appreciate it, and they will think about you in a positive way for a couple of minutes. So thank you, Katie, taking the initiative to do that again.
And Carl, yeah, and my question was to Katie, but I thought maybe, like usually the CD, that paperwork benefits seller when they do their taxes. That's what I heard. But it won't hurt to sell to the,
Well, both.
Yeah, to
buyers,
buyers, sorry,
right.
to buy when
Buyers.
they can write off
Right,
some
they
stuff.
maybe can
But
deduct
it
some of
won't
the
hurt
closing costs.
to send it to sellers as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Depending on whether they had a big gain on it, they might have a tax situation. But even if not, it's a very positive way to contact
Just
them
nice
and be
to
helpful.
have.
So just
Yeah.
to send out to both of them.
Yeah, sure. This came up again this week, so I just wanted to mention it again. It's not something that's worth making a huge fight over, but I just want you guys to be aware of what our obligations actually are, and that is other companies sending us commission agreements. We get under contract and they say, hey, please sign this document that says, this is when we're representing the sellers, that says how much we're getting paid and how much you're getting paid. We can't do that. That's none of their business. The total commission is in the listing agreement, which is a confidential agreement between this firm and the sellers. This firm and the sellers are the only two parties that have a right to know what's in that agreement, unless one gives permission to disclose that. So without our seller's permission, we can't disclose the total commission that's going to be paid. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, But just be aware that if you're going to fill out one of those forms, make sure you ask your seller, shoot them a quick email, whatever, to make sure you're not breaching some confidentiality there that for whatever reason they may be upset by. The other firms are doing this to see if it's a 50-50 split. That's
Carl, what would be wrong with just, if someone sends that to you, just putting in the amount that we've agreed to, give to them?
exactly, yeah, that's fine.
So
That's in
just
the MLS.
leave
and
the,
leave the other one
leave
blank.
the other one
Right.
blank.
Right. Right. That's what I would suggest. If somebody wants to make a fight out of it, gosh, my office manager is going to process this, my broker says we have to have this. It's not worth making a big fight over, but you should just understand that they don't have a right to that information. That's your call and your seller's call. There's no harm in it. If it isn't a 50 split, you certainly should be disclosing it so that nobody's going to have an ugly surprise at the closing table.
So just do that via a courtesy email or in a phone conversation with the
Yeah.
other agent?
Yeah. Just, I guess, I just reflexively want you to not be bullied into doing this. They don't, the buyer's firm doesn't have a right to that information. And same thing for us when we're on the buyer's side. This has been brought up many, many, many times with the VAR attorneys, and they're absolutely consistent with it, that we should not disclose. Again, I don't think most sellers would have a problem, but just know that that's not public information. What we do put out is what we've agreed to offer the other firm, and as long as we pay them that out of whatever we get, doesn't matter how much we get, if we've paid them whatever the MLS says we would share with them, then everybody's fine. And again, on the flip side, same thing. If somebody offers 2.5%, and we get to closing and we get our 2.5% and they get 3.5%, that's okay, because we knew what we were getting and that's what we got.
So the correct way to continue to notify closing agencies would be each realtor sending.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, the listing firm knows both sides, but typically the buyer's firm is sending the
Right.
first round of information to the title company. Yeah. Yeah. Again, not a huge deal, but just something to be aware of. Okay, I see Ashley's here. We'll go over this, and then the floor will be hers for a little bit. So we talked about, in our last couple of meetings, some real simple standard forms updates. Not anything that's a real big deal for us this year. However, DPOR changed a form. And that is residential property disclosure statement. That's the DPOR version of the Virginia Realtors form. That's the act. What they have done is the residential disclosure now just has spaces for signatures. There's no lines to disclose anything. And remember, there are only 6, I think, proactive disclosures the seller has to make. Everything else the seller doesn't have to say, even if they know that something's wrong. But in the cases of a military air installation close by, defective drywall, the house was a meth lab, building code enforcement and zoning, that was the one that used to be on the main form that the seller is supposed to put in here if they know of any active zoning violations or building code violations. And then a separate one for new construction. So they took that out of the main form. Seller signs the form, buyer signs the form. If there are going to be any extra disclosures that actually have to be made, there's a separate one for every kind. So military air doesn't really apply to us. If you happen to have a house that you know has defective drywall, there's a form for that. If your property was used as a meth lab, there's a specific form for that. So for all of the few required disclosures that there are, they now have a unique form for each one. So Katie's put those in .loop. Should you ever need them, that's the place to get them. The most common one, probably for us, would be the one that used to be on the main form, which is some kind of building code violation or something that you know of that's not going to be fixed. Does anybody run into that you've actually had something to disclose and couldn't find? Good. Yeah, it's pretty rare, but we did have a case where somebody needed it. The house did have significant building code violations and was being sold that way, and we couldn't find a place to write it on the form. There you go. Ashley is with us today to help us ease into the new year and talk about photography.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
need
glad you gave
anything
me an
in here?
agenda, cause I don't have one.
Do you want to go to your scheduler right now?
No,
Okay.
I think we've had a couple of people that have had trouble with the scheduler, mostly like, it's the first time using it since we made the switch. If there's any other reason, I haven't, as far as I know, nobody's had an issue other than something was outside our normal service area. We have Covington today, Winchester next week. We don't have somebody permanently located in those areas because we almost never go. It's like Covington, it's probably been 4 years since we had to go to Allegheny County. So we don't have it regularly on the schedule. If that happens, where you put in the address and it says no one available, it's only because we don't have any availability in that area permanently. Just call me or Ryan. Call one of us. And we'll get it on the schedule. So if you have any issues with the scheduling system, aside from outside of the area, or it's your first time using it and you have never set up your password and stuff and just don't know what to do, let me know. We haven't had any issues, but when we first onboarded UBooker, we had a lot of problems and they would fix them crazy fast. It was amazing. So they are there to support us if some crazy issue does happen. Just let me know. Has anybody had any other issues that I don't know about? No.
I just can't use it.
You're just not logged in yet. We'll
Well,
work
I
on that.
have, and I have used it before, and I've gotten a new phone, and so I don't know what the issue is.
Do you have a minute after this meeting? Awesome. Travel, we will travel to anywhere. We're not charging travel fees when we can avoid it. If for some reason it's emergency and you need it tomorrow and it's out of the area and we don't have time to try to get more work in that area, we may have to, but we're trying to avoid travel fees at all costs. That's funny.
Mhm.
Seasonal reshoots. We usually in the spring photograph everything that's been on the market through the winter, updating spring pictures. Sometimes it's for the purpose of the luxury book only, and then sometimes it's for just to freshen up your listing. The ideal dates for that are the third week of April is usually the time when everything is starting to completely green up. Trees are starting to grow leaves, and all the flowering trees are flowering. Or into about mid-May is when it's starting to look like summer and everything is really green and the flowering is over. To schedule those, just schedule it like an exterior update, and we'll do it whenever it suits your homeowners, whenever they have everything fresh and pretty. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Do you guys have any questions for me? It's interesting now that I have not been on the road taking pictures for well over a year. I feel so much better about our business because I actually am able to manage it. And our team is fantastic, and they still love being on the road, which is fantastic. And I think they're gonna love being on the road for a long time.
So who's on the team now, kind of going into spring? What's your person power?
Jason Ward in Augusta County, he's in Waynesboro, and he will go anywhere. He likes to come to Harrisburg, he likes to go to Charlottesville. Brian Robbins, Media Rocket Photography, he lives just north of Harrisonburg. He is fantastic. Brian is a drone pilot. Zach Colzer, he is a videographer, but is also a photographer. He's also a drone pilot. His specialty is video, and if you need any kind of branding video, just even, we've noticed that a lot of firms have started doing a coming soon video. Brian saw those and loves those. They're like a 30-second exterior only, just make you fall in love with the property, coming soon for a listing.
Yeah, those are now illegal.
That's what I thought, but we saw one last week.
NAR just put out a policy that actually, went into effect 1st of the year. I think has to be implemented by the 1st of May.
Okay.
But nothing can be advertised. It has to be in the MLS within one business day.
I think that's what the one we saw
Publicly
last week was.
advertising.
It'll be in
Yeah.
the MLS tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
can do
what's the
that.
point, right?
I don't know. The video is so pretty and doesn't show you enough. It's like really shallow depth of field, like focused on the mailbox and then focused on like pretty flowers in the front yard and like
So,
Just building into
details.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes you like want to see what the inside looks
Right.
like.
Good
Or it
idea.
did to me. I thought it was great. Zach loves doing things like that. And then Ryan, he's still taking pictures. And Dan Emmerman is our portrait photographer.
What does a short little video like that cost if somebody just wanted to do one as a?
$75.
Wow. Okay.
It's a lot of work for what it is for 30 seconds, but you have to do it with a camera. We had this whole discussion last week at our team meeting of whether or not we could pull it off with an iPhone 11 Pro. It's not possible,
Really?
unfortunately. We keep thinking that we're going to be able to do things cheaper and faster with cell phones, but they're just not good enough yet. So the process of filming the video, importing it to the computer, editing it, getting it all together, making it work with the music, and then delivering it.
And a person could get that for a listing for $75?
Yes. That's
Cool.
what we decided last week was the best we could do. If we could do it with a phone, we could probably do it for 50, but the phone is not good enough at doing steady motions and keeping shallow depth of field and giving that evoking that feeling that you can do with the camera. And if you guys need stock, our stock photography bank is still available. If you have any trouble finding that, let me know. If you go to Swartz Stock Photography archives, you can see all of our stock photography. If for some reason you can't download something, just let me know and I'll give you access. It's a per image basis of permissions. So if you've never downloaded from a specific album before, you probably can't. So it's very secure. I can't believe nobody has
Okay.
anything to say. We haven't had we had like 8 photo shoots in the last 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
I haven't used it in a while, to be totally honest with you, so I have
Yeah.
a few coming up, so I may have questions
Mhm.
then to
Well,
refresh
call
my
me.
memory.
Has anything changed on the site? Anything that look different to anybody? Okay.
No. We updated team pictures on our website. We took new pictures last week because we had a meeting and everybody was dressed alike. And I was like, this is hilarious.
It was a
Ryan
great-
and Zach look like twins anyway, and they were wearing the same thing. Collared shirt, blue sweater, and then Dan and Jason had the same bald head and beard,
Mhm.
and they were both wearing a similar shirt. And I was just like, this is crazy, we're taking pictures. So we took updated pictures. But that's all. I'm at Cottonwood an awful lot if you guys need anything.
Thank you.
When you guys get done with the meeting, you can come over.
Thanks. All right, so we'll have, we have plenty of time. So, I ran across this interesting article, and once again, when I got to the bottom, I saw it was Bernice Ross. And I don't mean to keep pushing this lady's articles, but it seems like every time I read an article and I think that was well done, or that got a lot of information across very simply, it's Bernice Ross. So I don't remember that name, she's really good. Anyway, it was just kind of an interesting introduction to body language. I don't know if I agree with everything in there, just based on my own experience, but I think it was kind of neat. One of the things we're going to do next year, we'll have a schedule for you at the company business meeting of a monthly class, and this will be one of them, where we'll go a little bit more in depth. But this one, I just thought was kind of interesting. And I think, you know, as I was reading through this, and you guys probably will too, my thoughts went to not only business interaction, but home and family, and talking to my wife and body language, and things that she has said to me over the years, like, why are you making that face? And I don't even know I'm doing it. So this is kind of interesting. I think we've all heard some statistics like this before. 7% of the impact of a message, 7% of what you all are getting from what I'm trying to convey right now is my words. 38, 40-ish% could be voice, inflection, tone of voice. More than half is body language. which is really, really interesting. And I think kind of instinctively we all know this. If you're sitting talking with somebody or you're talking with your spouse and all of a sudden they're doing this, you know that's kind of a red light. Maybe I ought to change my tone a little bit. But there are some really subtle things in here that are pretty cool, according to the experts. So, green, yellow, red is the way she kind of classifies them. Are you making, is the party you're talking with or negotiating with receptive to what you're saying? Are they kind of halfway in between, you starting to lose them, or are you actually making them mad and you need to take that signal and change what you're doing pretty quickly? And they break it down into 5 areas: face, arms, hands, legs, and body position. So, with their face, I'd love to hear what you guys think about if these are accurate or not in your experience. Looking away or decreased eye contact, someone's trying to hide something from you. Always a tip when somebody's being dishonest. Increased eye contact signals honesty, right? So if you want somebody to believe what you're saying, make sure you're looking at their eyes. A red face, kind of obvious, would be a stop sign. If I'm talking with Basil and his beans are popping out, maybe I need to change the subject a little bit. Speaking from experience. Chin up indicates defiance. I did not know that. A raised eyebrow indicates a person disbelieves what you're saying. That kind of makes sense. Lisa's going, Arms, somehow I see you take care. Open arms indicate a person is receptive to what you're saying. Crossed arms, I thought this was interesting. Can be interpreted 2 ways. If my arms are crossed and my shoulders are up, I'm cold, trying to keep them in my body heat. If my arms are crossed and my shoulders are down, and maybe even my chin's turned a little bit to the side, I'm not at all liking what you're saying. I thought that was pretty neat distinction. Cold shoulder, I'm starting to turn away from you, so one shoulder's kind of pointed at you. That's a halfway you're starting to lose me. One arm hanging over the back of the chair indicates that you don't have the client's full acceptance or attention. And the funny thing I thought of there is seeing people in church with one arm over the pew and they're kind of halfway tuned out. Forearms barely touching the desk signal the person's ready to make a quick retreat. So if they're starting to pull away from the table, they're starting to pull away from the conversation. Upper arms and elbows as far back in their chair as possible indicates the person's feeling defensive or wanting to withdraw completely. I can't picture that, but I will be looking for it from now on. So, hands. Open and relaxed, palms pointing up, green signal, everything's okay. Kind of obvious, open hand, held out, that's a stop. This one, not sure that I agree with entirely. Using hands to touch your face, ear, chin, nose, or clothing might indicate tension. Might also have an itch. Tightly clasped hands or fists, or involuntary hand gestures indicate a strong negative reaction. Again, so if somebody is, without realizing it, if you notice their hands are clenched and not open and hanging loosely, that's a sign that you're saying something that's really annoying them. Or if you're in a negotiation, that you're getting farther apart and not closer together. Yeah, some of these are the ones I'm not quite sure that I agree with. Legs crossed at the ankles indicates a person's feeling defensive. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm just thinking about myself and how I would sit in a committee meeting or
that would
something.
seem very relaxed.
Well, that was my
I agree.
first thought.
Yeah,
Was,
if
was
I'm just
out.
sitting here like this,
I think they
I'm
may be
pretty
talking
chill.
about
Yeah.
feet tucked in under you with legs crossed at the
Oh.
ankles. But I don't know.
Carl Sutton, see, he's got their legs
That's
crossed.
right. That's right. Well, watch the next one. You'll be looking at every conversation from now on. The toe of the crossed leg points towards you. That's good. If it points away from you, that's bad.
'Cause it's tense.
Oh, jeez.
It's more tense to
Well,
hold it
yeah,
down.
and I've heard that said in different ways. So that, say, if Debbie and I are talking, and I cross my legs, which puts me at a slight angle towards her, that's a good sign. If I cross my other leg, now I'm retreating from her a little bit in that conversation.
I only cross mine one. I mean, it's just,
Well, that's what I thought.
yeah.
It's comfortable for me to cross
Yeah.
my right over left, but not my left over right.
Yeah.
So don't get offended if my toe points away from you.
Yeah, I very rarely cross mine.
Depends on which way it
Uncrossed
goes.
legs with both feet flat on the floor indicates the person is open to what you're saying and paying attention. You know, if somebody's got their feet both on the floor and they're kind of leaning in a little bit towards you, they're into the conversation and they're paying attention. Body angle. These are very intuitive, I think. Somebody leaning forward, again, leaning into the conversation means they're with you emotionally, they're paying attention, they're focusing on what you're saying. If they're leaning back, but still making eye contact, they're still connected, but you're starting to lose them. Whether they're daydreaming or disagreeing with what you're saying and are kind of retreating from that point. Leaning back and turning away, big red signal. This one I don't know. I don't know that I've seen it in real life. Side-to-side movements suggest insecurity and doubt. I guess maybe with a child, if they're insecure or maybe fibbing a little bit, they start making side-to-side movements, and you can kind of tell that something's not completely truthful there. So, thoughts on that? Real life?
One of the big real life pieces is obviously the situation, because I mean, like, people are going to react differently when they're cold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you see that when a lot of people cross their arms or whatnot, it's just because they're cold.
Right. Yeah, I thought the shoulder thing was really an interesting delineator. I'll have to look for that.
I don't have a problem with picking up on the body language. Where I am kind of experiencing inexperience is reacting on my feet
Mm-hmm.
to those kinds of or types of body language
Mm-hmm.
because I get nervous.
Uh-huh.
I
Right.
do how to handle it in a classroom, but it's very different when you're
Interesting.
face to face
Uh-huh.
with two adults who are
Right. Yeah.
presenting you with that language.
Right.
So
And the other side of this is, how often are we face to face?
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Other than
So
showing
she mentioned
property.
Skype, video conferencing, things like that are now starting to get easier and more mainstream, and so it's not actual in the room face to face, but we're starting to actually have virtual meetings rather than just emails or speakerphone conversations. So it may become more important, but I think a lot of, and we all know an email can come across completely differently than the way it was intended. Because what's missing is tone of voice, body language, facial expression, eye contact. So I think there's a lot of truth to it, but we just have to be careful of where we are.
That was kind of what I was thinking about the second paragraph. Found that only 7% of the impact is verbal,
Mhm.
whereas 70 years later, our words are like probably the most important thing because so much is communicated through text and email.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then through the phone where you can't see the body language, which was 55% in his study.
Right.
70 years ago, we don't have a whole lot of body language to study in our communication daily. So, yeah, just thinking about how much the words matter so much more now
Mhm.
than they did in the 1950s.
Right.
So,
Right. Great point. Because those other components aren't there.
right.
Yeah. And that's why, and I'm guilty of this too, I'd much rather shoot a quick email
Yeah.
than call sometimes. But if you actually need to have a conversation with someone, especially if there's something to be worked out, at least with a phone call, you've got tone of voice and some kind of familiarity that comes through. Not as good as face-to-face, but certainly better than trying to work out a disagreement by email. Because we all know that can get inflamed unintentionally, depending on what words are chosen or what punctuation marks are used.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
One that I would add to this that is very easy, and I think we find ourselves in a lot, if you're doing a presentation or a meeting with somebody, don't sit across the table from them. You always want to sit at a 90-degree,
Mm-hmm.
because in that situation, it's the easiest body language is whether or not they actually turn to you, because they would physically have to turn their body in order to see and engage with you, and you have to do the same thing. So if they are starting to turn away, it's very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I've also read that
also works for your
sitting
spouse.
directly across can be taken as confrontational by some people.
Because there's a
My side, your side.
physical barrier
Yeah.
in between the two.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting at 90 degrees to each other,
Right.
then
It's more of a conversation.
yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
The thing that jumps out at me about this is it's all focused toward the body language of the other person.
Mhm.
But we need to think often about
Right.
flipping it to ourselves, because the body language we assume
Right,
sends clear signals to the
right,
to the other.
right.
So
And the
that's-
training we're gonna have later this year is actually gonna talk more about that side of it.
Right. Because in reality, I mean, in a business setting, you know, I joked about it, but in a business setting, I probably wouldn't comment to you about your body language or why you acting that way. At home, you know, our spouses will call us out on that. Why are you mad? I'm not mad. Come on, I know you're mad, right? But in a business setting, that's just going to go unsaid and create tension. All right. Let's see if this link works. Not gonna work. Sorry, I'm trying to use Dropbox links and it doesn't want to do that with me. So our HRAR gala is coming around. If you have not registered for that, please do so. You can do it through LAMPS. If you are of a mind to nominate somebody for one of the awards that they have, the Good Neighbor Award, the Realtor Spirit Award, the deadline for that is in 2 days. So jump on that if that's something that you intended to do. Any of our HRR folks have anything else to add?
Just
Anything going on?
A fun evening. Sign up if you're available.
Okay.
Next month is going to be our chili cook-off too, so if you have anybody that wants to cook chili, any affiliates, or you want to volunteer, start gearing up to get your team ready.
Any of our past champions start buffing up your recipes?
And if there's anybody that just wants to learn more about the association, maybe get involved on a committee, there's opportunity to do that. You know, so if you want to get your feet wet a little bit, good opportunity to do so.
Right. And to get to know some people. To circle
Yes.
back to the last conversation, this is a great way to get to interact with folks from other firms in a collaborative setting. We're all on the same team, so that when that day comes that you are not in a collaborative situation with that person, there's a level of familiarity there that wouldn't be there if you didn't know each other through this committee. So there's a huge benefit, I think, just in that.
Carl?
Yeah.
Who would we contact with HRAR with regards to like search, additional search buttons? I've had several clients actually request that their searches be narrowed to properties that border the national forests or the parks. And that's been, I'm pretty sure that at one point was within our search. I called Paragon, talked with the tech person there. They could not find a way to narrow, and they suggested that I call HRAR and make the request.
Yeah,
Who would I?
that was, I know for sure that was a field.
Yeah.
I don't see it there
I thought it was still there, but I'm not sure.
He searched. This tech person I called with Paragon, he searched and he couldn't find it. I went through like every feature or you can narrow it to borders public property, but not a park or forest.
Okay. So you can send an email to Bob or Jennifer, either one, and they'll just put it on the agenda for the next MLS committee meeting. And things like that, we have just started a subcommittee, which I'm on, to go through all of the input fields and try to coordinate a little bit better between the three associations.
Yeah.
Although we can each still make our own choices. But adding something like that is pretty quick and easy. I don't think anybody would object to it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And great opportunity to throw a plug for Bob and Jennifer. They, again, those of us that work with them or have had the opportunity to work with them, they are just phenomenal. So if something can be done, they're gonna see that it can be added. So don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Anytime something like that comes up, to reach out.
Right. Or the MLS chair this year is Corey Collins from Nancy Beam's office, so you can email her too.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Anybody have listings they want to talk about? Nothing?
I'll offer my listing. I just put a property on the market. It's vacant property, 20 acres, right off Mountain Valley Road. It is, within,
Is it on Mountain Valley Road?
yes, it is Serenity Drive, comes right off of Mountain Valley Road. It is, like I said, 20 acres, wooded. There's gonna be a plat that comes up. I think Ryan's taking pictures today. It was perked in '88 when this current seller, there it is, purchased it. It's beautiful. It's gently rolling. The 3 lots in the back actually border Massanutten
Oh, right here.
8 range. You can see where Serenity Drive is a easement through the top of the property. Very nice homes up there. There's a log cabin, another newer home it's beautiful. It is gravel road, but like I said, it comes right off of Mountain Valley. Road is maintained. I believe it dead ends at the very end back there. But it's a beautiful setting if somebody's looking to build for new construction. Lots of different building sites. And again, it had been perked in '88, but that's apparently that letter has expired. It's a nice lot. If you do send someone up to take a look, the property is marked with pink ribbon, so it's pretty obvious. They've done a really good job of working off the property lines. Agricultural too, zoning.
Nice. Anybody else?
Price.
Oh.
175.
175.
Yeah.
Michael?
Our listing 7846, I believe, Green Hill Road, the off-grid home, is back on the market.
Mm.
The buyers were trying for a VA loan, and yeah, we needed to try, and we tried.
Did somebody
really hard
indicate that was a possibility?
Bank of the James did, yeah.
Wow.
So they processed a lot of it when we weren't under contract, as far as going through VA, and we thought we were really close, and we just weren't there. So off-grid home, and we're back in the market.
Why wouldn't VA do it?
What was the issue for VA?
Electric, yeah.
Electric.
They required it to be tied to the grid.
Yeah.
Huh.
The cistern passed.
So when did that appear as an issue? When the appraiser went in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It all depended on what he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And since it's not typical to the area, there are a couple different markets like Colorado where it would be typical to the area, right?
Gotcha.
And so the VA would accept that. But yeah, we didn't get there. So my sellers are ready for someone else to come along and love their home.
Mm-hmm.
They've invested a lot of sweat equity in. So
Are there certain appraisers that are qualified to appraise properties using VA loans? Isn't there specific
yes.
appraisal appraisers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we turned down one, or the Bank of James turned down one that was not qualified. So we got the best guy we could, I think. And so
Maybe you should have got an unqualified person that would have said, yeah, that's typical.
I know. Calling Bank of the James did too.
It doesn't have any backup then, it's
It has a propane backup generator. And so it has more
Parents thinking, I
consistent
can do that
power.
at
I know,
home.
I'm like, but I don't know, that's interesting. Let's talk.
Yeah, there wasn't someone in our firm
Well, just for
to
yourself.
have that very frank conversation with the agent, but yeah, a lot of square feet, some pretty views, 2 master bedrooms.
How much land is it?
3 acres.
Anybody else?
3888 Orkney Grade. This is, if you've got anybody in Shenandoah County, this is, the difference in the two listings is acreage. This home has been in the family since it was originally built. Absolutely, Jessica was there to help do some staging, although it really wasn't necessary. It's the most tastefully and timelessly updated home. Originally built in '46. All the finished square footage, and it's nearly 5,000 square feet, is all above grade. Just lots of square footage, lots of nice features. The kitchen is just a dream kitchen. It isn't obviously an upper end home, but it's being offered on either 1.5 acres or 88 acres. The acreage all has a southern exposure, so it lends itself to, vineyard opportunity. Just a gorgeous, well-maintained, well-landscaped property.
I think having this in the address is causing Google to not know where it is.
Okay.
What's that? Having what in the address?
The acreage there, to make the distinction. Google thinks that's part of the address, so that's why the blank maps are coming up.
Very good to know.
Debbie, is this Shenandoah County source?
Yes, it is. Right on Orkney Grade.
Is that a closet or a half bath or?
That
Pantry.
is a pantry. Mhm.
That room off the kitchen is the coolest too. It's like a sunroom kind of solarium.
Mhm.
Or what you would call it.
That's the master. Actually has two masters. That is the true master, and you can see it overlooks, where you've got this gorgeous view of about a 2-acre lake in the backyard.
And that's on the property if they buy the whole thing?
Yes. Heated floors,
Why are they leaving?
they are downsizing. They have a new home almost complete here in Rockingham County that they'll be moving into in March or April, so they want to sell this home. They're downsizing. They're building a 5,000 square foot home.
On 1 acre.
Yeah, right, smaller lot.
Home office, it's just, the layout is just truly, and all of the features are just, this home is just gorgeous. Well cared for.
I think the most interesting part, he was saying, this was one cinder block room that he grew up in, and he's just added on and added on and added on, and it's seamless. The way he's done it, it's amazing.
Yeah, you cannot even begin to think, oh, okay, that's obvious they've added on here.
Right.
You cannot, you cannot tell what was old and what was new.
Are they architects or in the business at all, or?
The current owner, formerly owned Hepner Brothers in Mount Jackson, which is a block. But no, he's, he had an architect do the drawing, and that's the other thing. Everything that was done was just done top notch. No skimping anywhere, whether it's landscaping, hardscaping, anything. It's just gorgeous.
Wow. Okay. Who wants it?
It's lovely.
Anybody else? Okay. We'll have our Outlook class here at 10 o'clock. Check your messages and come on back.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Carl, with the body language, do they take age into consideration? Because sometimes I just try to get comfortable.
That's a really good question. Yeah.
It's like I sit for a while, something hurts, I move.
Exactly.